We all grapple with life's biggest questions. But what if a guide written centuries ago held the key to understanding one of the most fundamental truths of our existence? So today, we're going to dive into the Sutra on Impermanence, an ancient text that offers a really profound and practical look at life, loss, and what truly matters.
Right, let's jump straight in. The sutra does not pull any punches. It starts right here with this incredibly direct and powerful statement that just lays it all out. It's a reality we all know, but it's not something we really like to stare straight in the face.
So where do we go from a truth that stark? Well, the Sutras frames its entire teaching around what it calls the universal problem. And this isn't some high-minded abstract philosophy. Nope. It's a direct look at something every single one of us has to face.
That's right. There are 3 of them. The sutra identifies 3 specific aspects of life that, let's be honest, it calls unlovable and unwelcome for anyone. And it says that understanding these is the very first step toward wisdom.
And here they are: aging, sickness, and death. Yeah, the sutra doesn't try to sugarcoat it at all. Instead, it puts these 3 unavoidable truths right at the very center of its teaching. They are the core problem that we have to understand before we can even begin to look for a solution.
But here's where it gets really epic. This isn't just about our own personal lives. The sutra then zooms way, way out to show us that this principle of impermanence applies to absolutely everything. It puts our own struggles on a truly cosmic scale.
To get this point across, the text uses some absolutely incredible, poetic imagery. It tells us to think about the mightiest mountains you can possibly imagine.
And says, yeah, even those, they're going to crumble into dust eventually. The things that seem the most solid, the most permanent. On a long enough timeline, they're just temporary.
And it doesn't stop there. This powerful imagery just keeps going. It then asks us to consider the vast, deep oceans that cover our world. And guess what? It says even they will one day run completely dry. So from the grandest peaks to the deepest trenches, literally nothing is exempt from this universal law. So it all boils down to this one powerful line. This sums up just how all-encompassing this principle really is. The Sutra basically lays it down as the fundamental rule of the game for all of existence.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds kind of bleak, right? If everything just fades away, what's the point of it all? Well, the Sutra totally gets that. It anticipates that exact question, and the answer it gives is, well, it's pretty fascinating.
This is where we get this amazing twist in logic. The Sutra argues that if these 3 unlovable things didn't exist, there'd be no reason for a Buddha to even show up. His entire purpose is to teach a way through this reality, not to pretend it isn't happening. The problem itself is what makes the solution necessary.
And this leads us right to the heart of the teaching, a concept called the deathless door. I mean, what a name, right? This is the sutra's term for the path that leads us beyond all the suffering that this impermanence causes. It's the practical game plan.
And to explain this, the text uses these brilliant metaphors to show the 2 sides of the coin. On one hand, you've got this cycle of suffering. It's like being stuck on a wheel in a well, just going round and round. Or like a silkworm trapping itself in its own silk, literally stuck in a prison you built yourself. But on the other side, the path of wisdom is like sweet dew. It's coolness, it's relief, it's the end of the struggle.
So how do you actually walk this path? Well, the Sutra lays it out pretty clearly. It's a 3-step approach, and it's all about action, not just, thinking about it. It starts with really hearing the teaching with a truly open mind. Then you move on to actively practicing good deeds. And finally, all of that helps you cultivate genuine wisdom about how life really works.
Okay, and this next part is absolutely crucial to understand. The deathless door isn't some magic trick to live forever. That's not what this is about. The sutra is super clear. Even the most enlightened people's bodies still die. The goal here is to transform your relationship with it, your mental and spiritual outlook, so you can free yourself from the fear and the suffering it causes. So, as we start to wrap this up, the sutra leaves us with one last, incredibly beautiful and moving image to think about. A final contemplation on what life is all about.
Check this out. It gives us this stunning metaphor. It's such a gentle, natural way to look at something that can feel so harsh and painful, right? The fact that all our relationships are temporary. It reminds us that gathering together and then scattering apart, well, it's just the natural rhythm of life.
Okay, so if we have to part with everything, our stuff, our friends and family, even our own bodies,
then what's left? What actually matters in the long run? And this is the Sutra's big takeaway. You leave behind all your possessions, your physical self, but what you take with you, that's your actions, your wisdom, and the good you've put out into the world.
And I just love this phrase. It reframes everything we do. Our good deeds aren't just things we do in the moment. The Sutra calls them provisions for the perilous road. They're the essential supplies you're packing for that final journey everyone has to take. And that leaves us with the final question, the one the Sutra kind of leaves hanging in the air for all of us to answer for ourselves. This isn't some ancient philosophical puzzle. It's a question for you, for me, right here, right now. As you go about your life, what provisions will you pack for the journey?